just joining. We're just waiting for Dan to log on, and I will bring him on because today is our first show of 2022. Stand up and speak out with Dan. I'm not going to try to say his last name because I never get it right, but he's gonna. Oh, there he is. Let me grab him. I'll let him say his last name because I never I don't think get it right. So okay.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Going well. How you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Excellent.
Good. So, I don't think I've ever had you on this show yet.
I think we have done.
Have we?
I think so. It was like maybe like a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah, maybe it was. Yeah, it might have been before that I started the series. But glad to have you back.
Might have been something kind of different. Or we were just both high on drugs and hallucinating.
That's what it was.
What it was, like, we're like lying in a ditch somewhere, and like, yeah,
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. We were like, let's do it live. For everybody that doesn't know, Dan has been an awesome friend and part of the BKO family for a long time, and an advocate here, and is always doing amazingly good things in so many areas besides with us. But so I'm happy to have you back.
It's a pleasure to be back. Thank you very much. Thank you, and I would love to hear you try and pronounce my last name.
That's just not fair.
What? Like, to make you feel better, no one has ever pronounced it correctly the first time.
Okay.
Like no one has ever. I don't think anyone in my entire life. Like, Germans get close, but I think Germans get it correct, but they pronounce it in German. So it's probably correct for how it's pronounced in Germany, because I think Feuerriegel. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I just said it because I think my last name is quite common over there. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say like Feuerriegel.
I've heard it all. Like Ferrigal, Fergal. I tell this story always. When in grade 5, I started a new school, and we all had this assembly out in front, and we're all sitting down, and the teachers are out front, kind of doing a bit of a roll call and introducing everyone, because I was in grade 5 at that time, and the name of the guy before me, like Michael, Fabian or something like that, and then it's like Daniel. I'm like, put my hand up, like, no, trust me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can relate to that because my last name, when people see it, it's an Italian last name, and when they see it, they butcher it, or they just laugh and don't even try. Some people have gotten close, or there's been very few that have gotten it on the first time. So I feel you there. I feel that there.
And I'm also insanely terrible at pronouncing names as well. So, I've accepted it.
I'm actually pretty good, but sometimes I'm like, yep, I don't know. So you have like so much going on since the last time we did this. You're on Days of Our Lives now. You're on your volume 2, which I was so excited. I got both of my covers for volume 1.
Excellent. I'm glad you did. It was the volume 1. We had a lot of kind of ups and downs and things like that with that, and we're finally able to get it out to people. And it's taken a year, so we were kind of bummed that it took that long. But we ran into printing problems. The one of the artists had to step away for a little bit due to personal reasons, so that everything just got delayed. So we finally, I think we've got 2 more shipments to send out to people from around the world, and we are done for volume 1, and we can focus on volume 2. We've already started looking at volume 3 and potentially 4 and 5 and a spin-off as well. So yeah, plenty of stuff has been happening. Days of Our Lives, obviously, that takes up a lot of my time. And then the side project is the Fractured Shards, the graphic novel. I'm doing a little bit of writing of things myself. And obviously that's just stuff that can potentially happen in the future. But yeah, just keeping myself busy through like training to try and keep myself fit. Days of Our Lives, as I said, takes up a lot of time, and it's not so much the time that you take filming it, because we film it so quickly. It's the amount of time that you have to spend learning lines, because we shoot about 7, 8, maybe sometimes 9 or 10, depending on the kind of week, episodes a week. And yeah, it's pretty crazy. And they shoot it fast. Because the whole thing is, it's like an hour worth of episode, and it's all talking. So there's no setups or anything like that. It's like they've got 3 cameras, boom, 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 and you shoot the whole scene at once. And then if we can get it done in one take, we get it done in one take, because I've got the 3 cameras and they set it all up. So you've got an insane amount of dialogue to learn. And it just takes a lot of time. You finish filming, you come home, you learn, depending on how crazy the week is. Some weeks I might have 5 episodes to do. Some weeks I might have 1, 2. It just all depends on, the storyline at that particular time. But it takes up a lot of time.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that you've been busy. So, I mean, I know you're really not on social media that much, but I know that you obviously know that the social media world is like full of bullying, and today is actually like time to talk day in regards to mental health. So I thought it's actually a great day that it landed on, that we're doing this, and also because, I mean, bullying and mental health go hand in hand, obviously. I don't remember from the last time that we were talking about if you have a background of where you gotten bullied. I can't remember if you did or not.
I've had stuff happen to me kind of like on a personal level, that could kind of influence certain kind of aspects of like childhood, dealing with things and mental health. But in regards to bullying, I don't recall anything specific, like as in kids were like, we're going to pick on you every day. We've chosen you as a target. I think a lot of the bullying that occurred for me was the general kind of children being pricks kind of bullying, where like I was kind of a bit of a sensitive soul when I was young, and so I wasn't the one that would do the bullying. I tried to be friends with everyone and things like that, and I hated seeing like kids kind of be bullied. But I would get teased. I get teased about having skinny legs, or teased about this, or teased about that. I would, with my like friends, would kind of tease back. So that's kind of the witty banter. But you know how kids are. Kids can be cruel. I don't necessarily know if they're in, they have the, that they know that they're being cruel. Like they haven't processed it yet until I guess they get a little bit older. And then also you have the whole conversation of like what's going on in their lives for them to kind of end up behaving this way. So yeah, I was teased about things. I may have been bullied from time to time on certain things. I can't really recall anything specific, but I was also, as I said, a sensitive person. So I probably took things a little bit more to heart than maybe what the intention was, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah.
But looking back on it, I can certainly understand a lot more of like why kids would do certain things and stuff like that. So that would be my experience with bullying, shall we say, with when I was younger.
What about well, I know you really kind of stay away from the social media limelight, except for like when you're promoting and networking or stuff like that. So I haven't probably really seen a lot.
Yeah, I'm probably more of an observer on social media. Like I'll go and look at funny things and stupid things, and read this or read a bit of news here, read a bit of news there. I'll like this, I'll like that, and I generally do the whole like the quick like on my feed, like the first 5 or 6 posts is like boom, 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 just kind of like for the hell of it. Or if I see a friend's post, I'll post it and this and that. And I'm also lately, especially with my graphic novel, I've become more open to like, you know what, I'm going to help this, I'm going to help that. If you want me to share this, share that. Like, obviously I'll pick and choose, but I'm not as, at least at this point in time, I'm not as strict. Like I've got friends who don't want to promote certain things. There are times where some of my friends don't want to promote what I want to promote, or like what I ask them to do. So yeah, I'm more of I guess, an observer of social media, but I'll post and I'll chat with friends and things like that. And I'll do stuff here and there. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just, it's funny. It's probably better that you do that. I mean, I've taken a large step back, from social media. I post and I kind of go off besides PKO stuff, or if I have to promote something or I'm promoting something for people I know, which that I mean, of course, I try to do that as much as possible because I always like to give back, especially when people are helping me do what I do, and as far as the work here. So I always like to do as much as I can for them and support them in all they do. But social media has become somewhat of a just a very, I've noticed even for myself. I mean, I when I realized it's during the pandemic, it was a lifesaver, but at the same time, just the destruction on your mental health. When you see all this stuff, it's like on Twitter. Instagram is probably where I, will doodle around the most, and I'll do posts, but will do posts and go off, or I'll throw something in my story and go off. And it's the same thing with you. Like now I kind of scroll and I'll like a little bit, or I'll look at funny videos like purposely and just look at that and then go off. Not as active as I used to be, because just the stuff that goes on and the way that people treat people, I mean, it's always been an epidemic, but it's just gotten so sophisticated with the doxing and, a lot of public figures, in the entertainment world in Hollywood. I mean, I don't know if you know any that have, we know some mutual people that like, they don't even barely go on social media anymore. When I've asked them why, it's because of that reason. They just don't want to deal with it. It's the comments, the rudeness, the bullies, the trolls, and they just like have no desire to deal with it.
Yeah, like if you step out of line once, regardless of how amazing you've been for like maybe several years or something like that, they will, they'll snap and they'll come for you. I'm guilty of wasting time doing the whole scrolling thing, and just kind of like sometimes I'll do it out of procrastination. And as they say, like when you get a message or you see something, like you get that little dopamine hit, so your brain's kind of going, yeah, this is awesome. And I guess that's another thing about kids with social media, is they're constantly getting that dopamine hit. And because a lot of the world is online, that becomes the importance of your life. And then you start comparing yourself to other people, like this and that and things like that. And like, we all know what it's like there are times where I get told, you got to be more active on your social media, you got to post this many times a day, you got to do this, you got to post this specific thing and everything. And I get kind of frustrated and a little overwhelmed, because I'm like, I don't know what to post. Like, I'm not doing anything right now. I'm not going to post like some thing of me kind of walking here or something. I don't know. Like like, for example, like I went to a concert last night, and I took a lot of footage, because I was like, I might use 1 or 2 of these videos to post, just to say, hey, yeah, I was at this concert. And like, that's something that I'll post about, because I'm excited about it and I had fun. Whereas like right now, this like Sunday, I'm like, I don't know, besides obviously talking to you, but outside of talking to you, I'm like, well, what am I doing? I'm not doing anything. I'm running lines maybe, or something. So maybe I could do a little post of, hey, this is me running lines. Or my typical, I'm in my dressing room, hey, in the mirror thing, which I do all the time, because I'm like, well, I don't know what else to do. But there are some people I know on social media who are really good at it.
Yeah.
And just post random stuff and this and this, and they can do all this and this, and it looks great. I'm just not very savvy that way. I probably need someone to do it for me.
Yeah, you go. You can get a social media manager. A lot of people,
I'm old, 40 now.
A lot of people, I believe, I know, like sometimes it's not, they have managers that are like they're not even doing sometimes their own posts, but it's not personal stuff. It's more like entertainment or business stuff. And, but, like I said, I think it's healthier. I think it's great. The more and more times when people talk and I have these conversations about, mental health and bullying and what we do here, it's like, a lot of people, like, I used to post a lot, but then it's like, I kind of feel like, well, I want to practice what I preach. So we don't post like constantly, but, taking a step back from that, because like I said, I mean, I just feel like I'll post real quick and go off, but it's also, I just feel like the less time on social media, the better, besides doing stuff like this and raising awareness. And because that's important. That's one thing it is important for. Charity and networking and promoting and trying to raise money or raising awareness, having these conversations, because we need to have these conversations, and so many people can join the room and they can ask questions, they can comment, they can learn something, they can gain knowledge and education. So that part of social media is grand.
Well, absolutely. Like it's been able to, connect the entire world. Like going back just to the graphic novel, like we're sending graphic novels off to Italy and Europe, and obviously here in America, and obviously around Australia and New Zealand, like all around the world. And that is because of social media. I think that's a brilliant thing. So there is absolutely 100% lots of positives that come along with this. I guess it's just how you handle it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that's what it is. I mean, I know that I've had my bad and horrible experiences with it, but, I didn't for a long time. And then, I've seen it destroy friendships, relationships. A lot of people, what?
Sorry, I just saw a comment and someone was like, and Scotland. Like, yes, in Scotland as well.
Yes, in Scotland. But, and I've seen it do so many, and especially during the pandemic in the politics. And I've seen it do so much damage, like I said, mentally and emotionally and psychologically to people. I mean, I even had a cyberbullying period myself, I think, that went on with me and some other people that I know for like a year and a half. And it was defeating. I mean, it totally gets to your head, no matter how strong you are. And you think, I do anti-bullying, so people think you can handle it better. And it's like, no, everybody's human. We kind of all hit it the same, and in the beginning you kind of like ignore, block, and then after the point, you get to that boiling point where everybody will be like, you finally say something or defend yourself. And then sometimes on social media, it's almost like the victims turn into the bad guys, and the bad guy, the perpetrators turn into the victims. And I'm like, how is this going backwards? So it's like, I don't think people have like a really strong grip and idea of what bullying actually is and how sophisticated it's become, especially online. It still occurs offline, but I think psychologically, the verbal torture and the doxing that happens online, and I've said this before, even like, because we partner with Face Forward, who does domestic violence and in LA, and sex trafficking, and people don't understand how verbal. I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts? I mean, I think, and when I've dealt with it, the verbal, and because of my past coming from traumatic, abuse and whatnot, that people underestimate how much verbally destroying somebody and hurting them and saying horrible, delusionary lies and hurting them can do. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, like it's like the whole psychological, if you want to say psychological torture. So I remember reading he was a psychologist, and he was talking about why social media has affected girls more than guys at this particular point in time is because, and this is he says, like, on average, at school, boys would kind of get bullied, like, physically, like, that's kind of how it happens. Whereas with women, it was more psychological. Now, with social media, the physical element's kind of taken away. So boys will get bullied at school and then they come home and then they kind of have a reprieve. Whereas girls can go online and keep the psychological kind of element going. And so it would become worse and worse. And that's why there was a massive increase in suicides among girls comparatively to boys. Boys went up as well, but women, like, I think the percentage was like a much bigger jump. And that's also to do with other elements to social media, which is, comparing yourselves to other people, how popular you are. If you've got more likes on this, if you've got more, like, followers, then that means that you are popular. And that's a thing that happens in in my industry as well. Mm-hmm. Like, how you've got, how many followers you've got depends on, do advertisers want to work with you? Do people think that you're better than this particular person? Oh, this person's got 6 million followers, therefore they must be better at this than you are. But, like, I see young actors who have 7 million followers, and then I see this a veteran actor who's been in the industry forever and is fucking brilliant, has, like, 6,000 or 20,000.
Right.
And that is no indication of ability. It's just where you are at, kind of, I guess, industry wise in regards to popularity. And generally, a lot of it has to do with what production you've been on, but also your demographic. If you are really big among the younger demographic, like, teenagers, kids, older,
you're going to have a big following.
Have a ton of followers. But so that is a big part as well. So that is a psychological kind of thing that you got to kind of wrap your head around too. But yeah, I think the dangerous thing, if you want to talk about the dangerous thing about social media, is that people can do this anonymously. They don't have that human connection anymore. Like, you and I are chatting right now, but it's not the same as if you and I were in the same room together.
Right.
And I think there is something different about being with someone. Like, most of these people probably wouldn't say shit to the other person if they were in the same room as that person, because they could probably see what effect they would have on them. And you would actually go, oh, that's a human being right there. And, social media is also amplified, I think, like, I want to say class differences, but amplified people who are struggling.
Yeah.
And, like, how do I want to put this? Like, there are a lot of people hurting out there. And they need someone or something to kind of aim it at, because they don't know what to do. And social media gives them that avenue. And that could be, like, people who are struggling financially, like, and so that's probably why I brought up class, but I don't know if that's the correct term. But like, people are struggling financially, and they like, you're not doing anything for, like, say, like politicians or something like that. You're not doing anything for me. Like, I'm angry at you, and so they aim it at this, and then people get kind of lured into particular groups because they then find someone that sympathizes with them, or maybe somebody that kind of uses what their pain they're going through to kind of, yeah, come over to me, and that happens either side. And that's what I think social media, it's amplified that. But also there's a positive spin to that. It's given people who have kind of like, I really like this thing, but I don't want to really talk about it because, socially it might be taboo or something like that. But I've got a group now. I can communicate with people all around the world who share in my enthusiasm about this particular topic.
Yep.
And you have friends. Like, I've seen hilarious videos on Instagram or Twitter of people who've played video games and have had like their video game partner for 10 years, and then they finally meet and hang out and go and have beer. I mean, it should have happened way earlier, but they're probably in different states. So I think also as well, what you're talking about, it is a mess out there because it's so intricate and so complicated that it's not one thing or the other. There's many different layers to what bullying could happen, but also why that bullying is occurring. And it makes people feel better if like some famous person screws up once. Yes. Oh, my life sucks, so I'm going to tell you you're a piece of shit. And, that tall poppy syndrome.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. Look, I mean, I have family members that worked in television, and I've kind of been around that world on and off over the years. And I have a lot of friends in Hollywood and the entertainment world. And, a lot of them say that same, like, it's a lot of politics. It's a lot of, you see this, but you don't really know the story behind it. You don't really know what's going on. And it's like, there's just a lot of stuff that people don't understand about how things work and whatnot. But, there's just, it's not really getting to know anybody. You're really kind of, just like you said, it's that dopamine hit. It's almost like, it's like a drug. I mean, it's almost like an addiction. Like, you come on and it's like, okay, somebody said something to me, somebody liked something, somebody responded to me, and we're relying on this. And then when it doesn't happen, there's depression, there's anger, there's, oh my God, did I make, well, people that are friends, like, I mean, I have met some of the greatest people online, and then, there's times where I didn't, or it turned out bad. It happens. Yeah. But it's like, and I've been there too. I think we all have. It's like, even with our friends, it's like all of a sudden, like, well, you're not liking my stuff. Well, are you ghosting me? Are you mad? I mean, that's my mentality, because I have extreme anxiety and all this stuff. So it's like, my brain always goes to like a telenovela type thing, where I'm creating a whole scenario, and like, it's draining and exhausting for me. I can imagine what it is for the other person, but I mean, it's something that we're all working through. But it's like, when it's strangers and people that we don't know, or we're relying on people, because I mean, it's great to admire people, but it's why I've never had idols. Because, and I'm not saying that it's a bad thing for anybody that does. I just think we need to realize that everybody's human, and no matter what they do. And, I've talked to, I know quite a few that, like, they were on social media, and they're now, it's like very rare, because they just don't want to deal with it. They don't want to read the comments. They want to live life off of it, or they have things going on, because people don't know, like, you don't really know these people, that it's like a virtual fantasy land, but you can make friends off of it, and it's great.
Well, that's metaverse.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's not real life. I mean, real life is when you offline, but it's great for these things, but it's also, we have to know our boundaries, and not put our worth into a like or a comment, or because somebody noticed us or saw us, or then we think we're friends because somebody replied, or and then I think it's messing with minds, and it's messing with people psychologically. But because I mean, I know I have friends like for years, and like they'll do it to me too, like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you online, like, and I haven't heard from you, and you haven't liked my stuff, like, are we okay, is everything okay, and upset, and like, and we all go back and forth with this insecurity doing it, and it's coming from social media. And it's like, I'm not afraid to admit I've done it, and my friends have done it. We've all done it. Like, oh my God, is that post about me? Oh my God, I had a fight with somebody, and now is that post about me? Or is this, or, the other way around, and vice versa. And there's just so much going. I think that it's messed with our heads to the point where, I'll talk about a lot of general topics within my life and experience from years ago. It could be something from years ago. And it's like, I'll post it, and then I'm like, well, oh my God, I just had a little spat with somebody. Are they going to think this is about them? And we've all been petty and have done it. Find quotes that promote our side, or we find something because we're in a mood. I mean, we've all done it. But I mean, on the regular, no. I mean, like, I just spit out general things that just come out, and I'll just talk about a topic. And I've had that happen where it's like, a lot of people just assume what I'm talking about, or make assumptions. And I think that's another downfall to social media, is that nobody really knows a lot of what people are talking about, especially when they're not saying it. So yeah, there's just so much. And like, you know, you brought up a lot of points that I 100% agree with, you know, and it's very easy to be cool and say all these crazy things behind a screen. One minute you hate somebody, the next minute you love them, the next minute you're abusing them or bullying them, the next minute you like them, telling them who their friends should be, who they should hang out with. There's a lot of entitlement on social media too, especially in your field, where, like, you know, fan wise, where it's like, you know, you have to be online, you have to do this, where are you? You know, I've seen a lot of stories, and I've spoken to a lot of people that I know, that I'm friends with and work with, that say that they felt like like, you know, that they had to post their life, they had to do this, they had to do that, and it was like they got to a point where it was like, I don't really have to do anything, it's my private life. So
I also think that, so social media has come along comparatively to how we've lived a particular life. Like, social media came along and technology has advanced so much that, I don't know if you've seen this graph, but it talks about like the curve of science, and it's gone like zoom, like that. And it takes a certain period of time for us as a culture and as human beings to kind of like climatize and adjust to that particular way of life. And because things are changing so quickly, that as a culture, we're kind of like, and so you and I, and you know, different generations, maybe the generation before us, right? Like, I think my generation is the generation that existed between no internet and internet, or something like that. Like, there's a period of time. And so the younger generation who is growing up with this is normal for them now.
yeah.
So we will actively adjust to it. So probably what's going to happen is that as they get older, or you know, the teenagers, as they get older and then they have kids, they will be able to kind of teach their children like how to deal with this. Because at the moment, like, say parents who didn't grow up on social media are like, all right, how do I deal with my children? How do I teach them this and teach them that? And so I think at the moment we're just kind of trying to run to kind of catch up of like, oh, how do we deal with this? Because it's gone up. I think I don't know if social media has caused it. It might have caused some things, but I think it's become a megaphone for insecurities that children and teenagers are going through anyway if social media didn't exist. I mean, just think about it. Just go for this cliche. You know, you're the popular boy at school, or you're the popular girl at school, and you know, you're walking around, you've got all these friends, and you get all this, and you get all that, and then you've got the person over there who's maybe the shy, quiet kid in the corner who is struggling with something internally, like maybe struggling with their sexuality or their gender or something like that, and they feel like out of place, and they like don't know how to they don't know who to talk to, or something like that. Whereas social media is the exact same thing. You've got the popular kids over here, you've got but then on the positive and negative of that, like it amplifies the popularity of someone, but also can maybe show that they might not be the person that you thought they were. Then you've got the, you know, people who are struggling with internal things have a community now that they can talk to and get things off their chest. So I just think social media has amplified, but also helped certain
Yeah.
things. And so that's why, like, as the younger kids get older, they will have gone through it and dealt with it just like our parents have gone through it and dealt with it. Like when I was growing up, and my dad and my mom were like, okay, you know, this is what you're going through because this is what I went through. And you're going through it just a little bit differently. And so they were able to like help me. And so that's why I think there's a lot of kind of problems going on right now. Whereas the younger generation, I think, will learn to deal with this unless things just keep changing, and it just keeps changing and changing. Like metaverse is coming along. Now people are going to be living in a virtual world, rather than living in like the real world. You've got to ask the question, why is the virtual world more appealing than the real world?
Yeah, see, I don't think it is, but I come from a very different generation than, you know, these younger generations who grew up with it. I think we had MySpace eventually, but I was older,
yeah,
but you know,
MySpace. I tried to find
I mean, that's about it, you know. We were outside. We were playing Nintendo here and there. We were outside. Our computers were like the size of Jurassic Park dinosaurs. I mean, we had cell phone. I mean, I think my first cell phone was at 15. I mean, now kids are walking around with $1,500 iPhones at like 8, which, you know, it brings up a good topic that when you're talking about this, is like a lot of people that I've spoken to in and out of the entertainment world with their kids don't want their kids anywhere near social media until they're a certain age. And I somewhat agree with it. I think that there's so much chaos that why would a kid need to be on social media?
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Just one second. Alexa, turn on bedroom. Alexa, turn on all lights. Oh, fuck. Alexa, turn on all lights. There we go. It was getting dark in here. Sorry, continue.
No, I mean, I just was saying, like, you know, I've spoken to a lot of people, and they were like, you know, I'm not giving my kid a cell phone, like, until like maybe like a regular one that's just for actual calling. And I know a lot of people that are, you know, some people consider it strict. Some people feel that, oh, no, let's get them used to social media. And others are like, why? What do they need to do that they can't do in person and play with their friends, see their friends? And, like, what are they going to do? Like, you're going to see a lot of inappropriate things. You're going to have them at a young age comparing themselves. Oh, my life doesn't look like that, because they're not, when you're young, you're not cognitively fully developed to understand that it's like, these are just pieces of people's life that you're seeing, and you're only seeing what people want to show you. You're not
Yeah. There's adults that still haven't been able to figure that out yet.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
Exactly. Like I'm sometimes like completely in the dark, and I'm just like, my posts are all over the place, but like, because I'm very authentic and real, and I think it's important to show people that, rather than all this, my life is perfect, everything's wonderful, unicorns and fairies, and here I am at an event, and I could show that. I could show, hey, here I am at an event, here I am with this person, here I am with that person, la 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 la. I could show all the fancy stuff and all the great stuff, but I don't really like to just show that, because like, if I'm going to be on social media and do the things that I do, I want people to see like the good and the bad. And a lot of people hide a lot of that. They just will show you the good, or this cool picture, or this cool thing or event, and that's fine. But that's the problem. People are seeing people's lives and thinking like, oh my God, they have this glamorous lifestyle. I mean, even in your profession.
Yeah, they like, I can show you a very curated version of my life. You know, I'm not gonna like they won't know that, like, oh, I go to therapy. They're not gonna, like, I'm not gonna show that. Like, you know, and it's like, in some instances, say for example in the acting world, just say a particular actor wants to give off a particular vibe, because in the acting world, a lot of people are very, very unimaginative. And they're like, oh, I get that vibe from that particular person. Come on in, have an audition, or I want you to be in this role because you give off that vibe, or I've seen you do that before. And so they curate it, their social media, that way, because networks and studios and advertising agencies will look at that and go, am I going to be able to, A, get free advertising from these people? Like, that's why big studios want you to have a social media, because they want you to promote their production, because they're going to get free advertising out of that. And if you've got 10 million followers, hey, come and join our show, because it's free advertising.
Yep.
Um, and but like, say for example, but people have been doing this for a long time. Like George Clooney, for example, I think he wanted to be like Clark Gable. He wanted that image, so he started going out in public wearing suits, and he became that George Clooney that we know now. But he did that specifically. So his social media was paparazzi taking photos of him when he was out in public. In interviews, he acted this particular way. Back in the old school days of studios, they had departments that trained you how to be an actor or an actress. This is how you walk. This is how you do this. This is how you do that. This is what you're like in interviews. It's very, very curated. And so, as I was saying before, social media is just a megaphone of what we've been doing anyway. You just don't know about it. You just didn't hear about it. It was just like, it's just, you would just take their word for it because, oh, that's what it's like. Like Ryan Gosling, he walks out and he kind of looks like he doesn't really care. He cares. He wears particular kind of things. Like, I mean, I obviously there's no paparazzi for me, so I don't have to walk around. Like, I think paparazzi's kind of disappeared now because everybody with a phone's paparazzi. You can create your own kind of paparazzi and stuff like that. I think the only time is like if an actor or an actress or a celebrity or someone famous or anything like that goes away on a holiday and is trying to be secret or something like that. That's when paparazzi kind of comes into play. Yeah, I just think it's a megaphone, but it's also a megaphone of everything, the positives and the negatives. And we're just running to try and catch up.
Yeah.
Like, apparently, I read this book, apparently we're still, our brains are still haven't evolved for 40,000 years. And so we're still, like, our frontal lobe, obviously, we've created all these magnificent things and also these terrible things. But there's a way where we're still creating this and still acting this way and all that based on our 40,000-year-old lizard brains. And we just don't know we're subconsciously doing that. So.
Yeah, no, that's an amazing point. And I like that you brought up, it's a very good comparison because that's what I'm trying to say. Like, people don't know because even in the entertainment world, it's like they're acting a certain way because, well, they're actors. And this is what they do. And this is what they're showing. And this is what they've created. And it's almost kind of like the way you describe it, like another character. Or this is how I'm going to act. And this is how I want to portray myself. And this is how I want to be seen. But behind closed doors, they could be completely different people. I mean, some are very, like, out there and humble and just who they are. But some, I think, people don't realize are just completely different people than what they're seeing, like, at an event or what they're portraying. And I think that's where then, like what I said, with pedestals and idols, you're holding someone up so high. And then when you see them be human or make a mistake or something, everybody's jumping on it or something they don't like. And they're like, oh, I got you.
What?
Because they think they're perfect.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. And you get a particular fan base depending on what you're putting out there. And if you don't satisfy that fan base all the time, they will come for you because you're like, whoa, no, wait, you're supposed to be this. Why are you saying that? Like that kind of thing. Yeah.
I feel sorry for you guys in that way. It's kind of like
I'm kind of low on the totem pole when it comes to this kind of stuff. So, like I'm lucky that I haven't really had anything horrible happen to me. I've had friends who have had horrible things happen to them. But it's an interesting kind of thing. But also in a as well, we make this. We make the social media. We make the Twitter. We make the internet. We make the phones. We make this. We put the importance on it. If everyone one day just went, I'm not going to do it anymore. It doesn't matter anymore. It's gone. Dead.
Yep.
Dead in the social media doesn't matter anymore. And like, we are the ones that put we are the ones that put the as I said, the emphasis on it. But then again, this goes back to like lizard brain. Like it's all about, you know, it's all about this and all about status and this and that, because in old school Neanderthal days, it was all about, okay, who is the strongest and who is this and who is that and who is this and this and this and this. They all had kind of roles. And now it's just amplified the good and bad of the structure of society, you know. I mean,
Yeah,
it's a very specialized, dulled down version of what I said, but there's a lot of like people who actually study this for their whole lives, who, you know, read their books. They know what they're talking about. I don't.
no, but it's absolutely true. It's there's a whole thing and a process to it, and you know, someone just commented like you can't be human anymore, and I feel that comment because I've said that, and it's like I even feel like even with people in our lives, like we've all had this change of the way that we think in this process, and I think a lot of it is coming from social media in our minds. It's almost like some of it's being warped when you're on, and that's why I took a step back, because it's like, oh, well, I found this quote, and oh my God, this, like the quote is written in stone and it's coming from God. I mean, like, you know, it's stuff that's on social media. It's not necessarily facts or true. You know, and it's why, like, you know, I go to therapy or I have mentors or spiritual teachers, because those are the people that actually know what they're doing and talking about. And there are some that are online. I'm not saying that there's not, but I just don't put too much of my education and thought process into social media, not so much the internet. Yes, you can learn a lot, but and stuff like that. But also, people also think, well, I Googled this and it said this, so that's it. It's a fact, and it's like not how it works. But you know, there's just so much of that going back and forth, and you know, with bullying and doxing and stalking and harassing people, and like I said, even with people in our lives, I've seen it destroy marriages. I've seen it destroy romantic relationships. I've seen it destroy friendships. I've seen it destroy business connections. I've seen it destroy so many things because there's just so much chaos, and everybody gets drained. And then, you know, like I said, you have a certain point, and this happened. You know, we all have a certain boiling point, and then like when we get to that, like, you know, we kind of explode, and it's a human thing. And, you know, we're all going to make mistakes and step over lines and have moments and boundaries at times, but it's not who we are, our core.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I think, like, even with our personal relationships of people that we met offline, some of the people that I've known for years, some friends that I've known for 20 years, like, I don't talk to anymore because they, like, turned into, like, I felt like they turned into completely different people. And I've always just been like, I'm still the hot mess that I always was. You know, not a hot mess, but, like, you know, half hot mess, half wonderful, awesome, you know, but I don't deny that I have those moments and all that stuff because it's who I am and I'm authentic, and like, you know, who the heck isn't a hot mess these days here and there, you know, but
Fine.
I think we all have them. And so like, I mean, a lot of the stuff that you've been saying, I 100% agree. And I love some of the ways that you've said it and you've put it. And, you know, and I think people just want to be seen and heard. And I think people just want to be loved and cared about, and they're not getting it in their lives. So they're going online, which is wrong,
Yeah.
which is the place to look for it because it's fake.
Yeah. Like I 100% agree with that. There's like when people kind of dogpile on other people or like attack another person, it's generally coming from something personal. I think whether you're kind of like I'm hurting this way, or I think this and I think that, and that person said that, which goes against what I think, so I'm going to attack them. And then that's when the dog pile comes on because everybody feels good. And we like, it's the same thing. It's the mobs, like with the pitchforks.
Yeah.
And things can cascade and become really bad really quickly. And everyone's just like, ha, 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 ha. And also there's this less kind of, because you don't have that human connection. They don't like, there's no consequences.
Yep. There's no empathy and there's no consequences. You're right.
Whereas if there was consequences, they'd probably think twice about doing it. Doesn't mean that they change their opinion about it, but they might be like, no, it might give them like that second of like, you know what, I'm not gonna do this. And yeah, when there's no consequences, which is, I mean, what you kind of think that social media, like with trying to like create terms and conditions and stuff like that, like they're running like a, you know, a mouse on a little circular, whatever it is, wheel. That's it. Wheels were invented a while ago. Like they're trying to catch up too. Like, and like science is changing and technology is changing, and they're still trying to catch up. And so like it's all a big mess, but it probably won't be for, you know, maybe like 10, 20 years before everyone's kind of like, all right, this is how we handle this, or not. Who knows? Something else might come along, like with, as you said, the metaverse and all that sort of stuff. So, like,
Yeah.
but also society has always been kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's just always more.
Always been crazy. There's always horrible shit that goes on,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of which type of society you have. And so social media is just the new society.
Yeah, it's just like you said, it's amplifying it more, and it's giving people more avenues to go at people and attack people, and then also more avenues for good. I don't ever want to leave that out,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
it's just, I've seen so much. I think, you know, especially during the pandemic, and I've seen a lot of people say it, and a lot of people take breaks and go off because there's been an amplification sometimes of more negative, and then, you know, it gets to people mentally. Like I said, it's happened to me many of times, and, you know, I used to enjoy it a lot, and I used to really like it when I first started Twitter and when I first began, and there were some little hiccups here and there, but then it goes away. But it was just, I don't know, it's like it's gotten to the point. I come from, you know, Generation X. I come from a generation where, again, like, if we had an issue, we talked about it. We picked up a phone. It wasn't a DM. It wasn't all this texting and this phone in and all this stuff and emails now, because we
Can't
all
have a 30 letter conversation or something like that. But just quickly before I forget. So the reason why it kind of feels like everyone focuses on the negative is because that's the part in our brain is the protective thing. Like, it's the fight or flight. Like, if something is negative, it creates the same feeling of like, whoa, there's a lion here. I got to get the hell out of here, or I fight it. And so, like, you've got 100 positive messages, but that one person's like, you suck. You focus on that because that creates that thing in your body of like, oh, wait. And like, is this dangerous? What am I doing wrong? Like, and so you focus more on that. And I think that's a protective thing. And that's why it's much more powerful than consistent positive stuff. And the advertisers, the media, they know this and they play on it because rage gets clicks. They don't give, they just make money, you know? And then like 3 days later, like when, just say something happens and everyone's dogpiling, you've got these videos and this and this and this, and people are writing articles and blah, blah, blah on that first day. I will wait 3 or 4 days before that dust settles down. And then most likely you're going to get the truth of what actually happened. Yep. About 4 people kind of sit back and go, all right, I'm going to wait for everything to come in, because everyone's going to have their initial kind of reaction just based on their own personal bullshit, based on what side of the aisle they're on, based on like what group they're in, you know, based on what they saw, But then 3 days later is when you'll get the more like balanced, neutral opinion where they're like, okay, what this happened was pretty bad, but here's the context of it, or this and this and all this sort of stuff. And then you kind of get a more balanced view. And then I think you are in a more appropriate way to kind of make a decision yourself. You can still go, no, still don't agree with it, but at least you have all the relevant information. I always wait about 3 or 4 days to kind of, for like more information to come in before I go, okay, all right, I'll make an opinion on this now.
Yeah.
You know,
You hit it right there on the head, and I've said that it's this mom cancel culture mentality where it's like a video comes on and everybody's like, oh, let's jump on this, oh my god, mom, go pitchfork. And then like 4 days later, the person that they were going after, you realize actually was the victim or didn't do anything wrong, or the whole scenario that they thought was just horrendous thing ends up being something that was completely valid and totally went down the way it should have. And that's and people's lives are getting ruined by these types of like half-assed 10-second videos, and people are making judgments on people based on that, or an article that the media knows will get, like, they know how to play us, they know how to get in our minds, the media, the, you know, everybody. And like I totally agree with you, and I don't even barely comment anymore, because it's like, if you don't agree with the masses, it's just ridiculous. But it's so true that you have to wait for a full story, and most people don't. And it's just, and then everybody gets it wrong, and then everybody looks ridiculous.
Yeah, and also as well, like another added element to that is that people have to, they have to be first, because there is a currency in being first. Like, once shall we say, the truth comes out, like all these people for certain scenarios might be correct in the very, very beginning. Or they could be very, very wrong. But like 3 days later, or 4 days later, somebody writes an article. By that time, the rage has died down. This has died down. 24-hour cycle, and then no one cares after that, because they've had their fix. You know, they get their emotional kind of fix. And so, like, you'll have, you know, this publication will write this particular article, and then like 5 days later the truth comes out, and they'll correct it by like putting a little correction in it, but they don't repost it. So it's, no one knows that they've kind of like gone, oh yeah, we screwed up. You know, that's what happens. But in that particular thing, however, yeah, like it's, as I said, it's just amplified certain things about people. It's amplified how we are as a human, as a species. And we're just running to catch up. Like, we're still trying up. So.
Yeah, it's a slippery, double-edged sword at times. Slippery. It's hard to navigate, and I think everybody's a little bit harder on people, and just not letting people be human. And I think everything is just such a mess that, like, some of us are more of a mess than others, and some handle it better, and some don't, and some have moments. And I think we've just forgotten what it is, like humanity. I hear so many people say that they're scared for humanity, and I feel that way myself sometimes when I see things or read things or see you know, people getting jumped on or doxxed or destroyed, and if they say anything to stand up for themselves, they're this horrible person, and oh my god, you're bad. And it's like, why is that person bad? Because they just didn't want to take anybody's bullshit. And you could be anti-bullying, you could be an advocate, you could be a kind and loving person with a big heart, but it doesn't mean that you're perfect, and it doesn't mean that you've never made mistakes. It's like, again, in your industry where there's, I'm not going to use names, but there's just certain people that they're seen as these wonderful, the kindness people and the humble and blah, blah, blah. But God forbid that anybody does something. The second they do, it's like this massive story and this massive eruption volcano, and then everything comes out. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not fair, because you're missing all the good. And maybe they had how many bad days in that 20 years of the person's career did they have? I mean, like, there's so many things that we're not considering. People are just destroying and canceling and jumping on people, and or they just don't like them, or they just want to get back at them for something, or they piss them off, or they're not giving people, I just feel like people aren't allowed to be human and just go through human catastrophes or emotions or fall apart. Or like, anytime that happens now, it's like, oh, you're a drainer, or you're this, or my energy. And it's just like, look, I agree with things to a certain point if somebody's doing things intentionally, hurting someone, nasty, horrific, mean. But if people are just people and just falling apart and don't even know what's going on, no, they're not draining, they're not too much, they're not this, they're just people being human, and we all fall off and fall apart. And I think there's just not enough room for that anymore because people are judging too much and not listening and really paying attention. And that goes for our family, our friends, and even people in our lives. And, you know, I've been there. I know of other people that have been there. So I think it's an all around thing that we just have to be gentle with each other and kind and with people and strangers and, you know, stand up to bullying, but also have consequences to it, but also rehabilitate those people. So, um, I mean, again, this is a topic we could talk about like for hours and hours, but
Very, very nuanced, complicated conversation that has so many levels to it, because in one example, it might, you know, consequences might be a good thing. And another example, it's like, well, you know, there should be consequences for what you did. And maybe that consequence is everyone dogpiling on you. But then like, okay, where are the consequences for them? Like it's such a, and that's what I mean by social media and the internet. They're trying to catch up. And things happen and change all the time that like it's kind of crazy, and they're just running to catch up. That's why they'll block this person, because it's like, I think that's the right thing to do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then other people come in and go, nope, that was wrong. Why did you do that? Da, 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 free speech, blah, 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 and all that. But then there's like, free speech doesn't stop you from having consequences. And then it's do. I mean,
yeah.
These are conversations that need to happen. But I just think there's a group of people that's kind of like, oh, okay, how do we do this? How do we handle this? And then you've got the government saying something, and then you've got this saying something, and then this and this and this and this and this. It's just like this whole crazy thing. And then you have the media who just wants to, you know, all right, keep doing this, guys. We're getting money from this. Yeah. And like, it's a hard, like, I have no answers whatsoever. It's just kind of my feeling of what I've read and what I get and things like that. And in the end, like, I guess, you know, then there's responsibilities of people at home where, like, you know, teach your kids this, teach your kids that. But then there are kids that don't have that kind of mentor in this, and they go through their own stuff. And it's such a complex question that, as you said, you would probably need an entire, like, number of TV series to kind of explain it all. And even then, by the time that's made, things are completely different.
Yeah. Every day they're changing. Yeah, it's just a multitude, and that's why I always tell people there's no right or wrong answers when it comes to, you know, bullying and hate and all these things that we do here, the LGBTQ and, you know, everything that we encompass here, that we work on, all forms of bullying and hate. And that's why I love everybody's different perspectives and to have these conversations and to do this show, because everybody has something amazing to contribute that, like, oh, hey, I've never thought of it that way, or hey, I never saw this, or I didn't realize that. And it's also educating and giving knowledge to people. And, you know, even the people in the rooms always have these great things to say. And a lot of them have brought it up in here. You know, you can't be human anymore. They don't feel like there's free speech. You can't be yourself. We've lost a lot of empathy because we're running around so busy that we're doing things through, like you said, novels of text messages, emails, and it comes across, if you're not articulating right, you come across like a spaz. I've been there. Like, I don't even know what the hell I said.
Like, the amount of times I've gotten into, like, kind of little, have you seen the Key and Peele skit? You know Key and Peele, right?
No, I know who you're talking. I haven't.
It's a sketch where they're both texting each other, and one of them, I think it might be Key. Like, he's getting super angry, and like they're asking, I think they're asking each other, hey, you want to come and have a drink? And like, Key's kind of like sending a text, and Jordan Peele is like, yeah, man, cool, whatevs. Like, he's being really chill about it, of like, but Key is getting really worked up because he's misinterpreting what he's saying. And the amount of times I've kind of had like little mini kind of like, no, I wasn't meaning that. This is how it sounded in my mind, but because I wrote it this way, I didn't use this emoji or that. It's kind of crazy. But yeah. But once again, we learn, we evolve. Everybody's still trying to learn and evolve. There are going to be people who are going to take advantage of that. Just like, nothing's changed, I don't think. It's just, you know, it's just, like we've just got certain things are more amplified, and we're just trying to catch up with it. I think that's what it is where it's happened so fast and so quickly that we're like, whoa, as a culture, we're trying to catch up. Whereas, you know, for the longest time, just say it was, you know, it was 4 networks that gave you all your entertainment, all of your news. And so that's where you got it from. And then all of a sudden there's, you know, 100 streaming services. And you're like, whoa. And you're like, what the hell? And then these 4 networks are now like, we don't have that monopoly or power anymore. But then behind the scenes, you've got this massive company buying that and then that. And then you actually find out that even though you've got all of these streaming services and all of these choices, they're still owned by like 4 companies. So still, and it's just as I said, like technology is happening so quickly, we're trying to catch up.
Yeah.
You know, soon something else is going to, as you said, the metaverse. People are going to be living virtually in a world like Snoop Dogg. He's bought property. You buy property in the metaverse, and he can now. And so I think someone bought like property next to him for $800,000, like literally $800,000 bought property in his particular metaverse next to him, so he's his neighbor. And like, but in an interesting way, like Snoop can have a concert that is just for the metaverse in that area. So you have to buy tickets and be in the metaverse to go and see that concert. And he'll do it like digitally or something like that. Like, and then, you know, you get on your, whatever the hell.
It's like that. It's like that game Second Life. You know, my it's like,
it's Ready Player One. Like, in a way, I'm kind of like, there's certain elements where I think, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, it'd be just like you paying a subscription to his website, and then you get to watch his new special or something like that. It's kind of like that. I don't know, but it's also getting its own currency. Like, it's getting its own cryptocurrency, the metaverse.
Yeah.
Like, it's own money now. And so, like, crypto people are, like, investing in that. Like, you know, I've invested in some of it. Because crypto, like, what it is depends on how important we make it. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. But, you know, it's a little bit of fun. So I just think we're just trying to catch up.
Yeah.
Trying to catch up.
Crazy. And, you know, like you said, it texts and emails and even online. And a lot of people in here said it. There's no tone. They could be very misconstrued, taken out of context. And like you said, it's happened to me. I can't even tell you, in the past probably 10 years, a few times, you know, and it's sometimes with the same people. Sometimes it's people that I'm no longer friends with. And sometimes it's just, you know, like years ago, I remember, and I've been saying this, like having serious conversations or trying to not having a proper conversation where you're on a phone or FaceTime or in person, it's very hard to just have a conversation through words because people are constantly no emoji, no LOL, or you sound crazy right now, or what's going on, or I didn't use this, or, you know, it's like all this stuff to try to get it understood. And at the end of the day, it can ruin relationships, friendships. It could cause a fight. There's just so many things that it does. And like I said, I've been there, man. I think we all have. And I've always gotten through them. My friends and I have always gotten through them and gotten the other side. And then there's been a couple of times where it was like, did we really let stupid nonsense impact our relationship? And it's like, I just don't think I think we're just so busy and our minds are so filled that we're just like all over the place. And I think it's just insane times we're living in. And the metaverse is just, wow. Yeah, it's crazy.
People are communicating so much online, then in like real life, they're like, oh, this is a little awkward. I don't know how to communicate anymore. I mean, that's probably more for the generation than the older generation. But but also sometimes there are people say they're introverts, and like say sending a text instead of a phone call is actually a better way for them to kind of organize their thoughts to get that point across.
Right.
I've chatted with people who English isn't their first language, and they don't like talking in real life. They don't like talking in person, or like they feel uncomfortable because they're still learning it, but they can write and get their thoughts across really kind of quickly.
Yeah, some people are great at that because they're used to it, and then others are like, I prefer to have a conversation. Like for me, I prefer to have a conversation than to have a whole giant serious conversation through a text. But that's just
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, no, totally, absolutely, absolutely. But I mean, sure, at some point, we'll probably figure it out. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows?
We'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. The world is getting more insane and interesting and beautiful, but
Yeah,
crazy.
but I mean, it might be insane to us, but maybe the younger people, it's not. They grew up with it. It's their life now. So, you know, I mean, you always hear that. It's like, music is different now than what it was back then, in my day. So, like, who knows? Like, maybe the very young generation's like, what are you guys complaining about? Like, this is our life. We can handle this. We know what we're doing because they've learned from the very early age how to deal with it.
Yeah, and like the older generations were more traditional in the ways that we, and we've adapted, but and there's sometimes where I prefer certain things, but and I'm very adaptable, but it's just I think we've just lost a lot of those old traditional ways that I still wish sometimes still existed and some people still believed in, because I think it is impacting us sometimes, negatively, the humbleness and the humanity that we're kind of getting lost in all this virtual craziness and texting and, emails, because we have to make appointments with each other to see each other now. And our lives are busy and crazy. So, hopefully everything gets, so hopefully things, easier instead of more difficult. But thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule for having this chat, my friend. I am so glad that we had it. It was an awesome, amazing chat. I mean, I could tell right here in the comments that everybody was loving this. We've been asked to be people's therapist a couple times.
But it's a pleasure. Thank you very much for inviting me. Just quickly, somebody asked. Feuerriegel is how I pronounce my last name. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for the chat, and it's always a fun time.
Yes, it is, and thank you so much for all the good things that you do and supporting Bullies Keep Out. And I will talk to you soon, everybody. I hope you have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed this. And we will have Dan back on as we do over time. Thank you so much, Dan. Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody.
Take care. Thanks, guys. Bye. How do we turn this off? Hi.
Hi.
I don't know how to turn
You
this
have to X out.
Oh, I have. Do I? All right.
Out. Oh, yeah.
An example of an old person dealing with tech. Bye.